Hey everyone, EsLearns here. College algebra got you feeling stressed? Don't worry, you're not alone. Want to crush college algebra? We're tackling 8 advanced problems step by step. Then we'll break them down so you actually understand them. Let's go. These are the kinds of problems that often trip students up. But with a little practice and the right approach, you'll be solving them like a pro in no time. We'll cover everything from multi-step equations to those tricky word problems, so grab your notebook and a pencil, and let's get started. Fractions and equations can look scary, but don't let them intimidate you. The key here is to get rid of those fractions right away. How do we do that? We find a common denominator for all the fractions in the equation and multiply both sides of the equation by that common denominator. This will clear out the fractions, leaving you with a much simpler equation to solve. Remember to distribute carefully and simplify as you go. Quadratic equations, those with an x squared term, pop up all the time. Factoring is often the quickest way to solve them, but sometimes they just won't factor nicely. That's where the quadratic formula comes in. It's like a magic wand that can solve any quadratic equation. Just identify your a, b, and c coefficients from the equation and plug them into the formula. The part under the square root, called the discriminant, tells you a lot about the solutions. Systems of equations involve solving for multiple variables at once. Don't worry, it's not as daunting as it sounds. The key is to isolate one variable in terms of the other. Look for the easier equation, the one where you can solve for x or y more easily. Once you have one variable by itself, substitute that expression into the other equation. This eliminates one variable, and now you can solve for the remaining one. Remember to always check your answers by plugging them back into both original equations. Simplifying rational expressions. Rational expressions are just fractions with variables. Simplifying them is all about factoring. Factor everything you can in both the numerator and denominator. Look for common factors that appear in both. Remember, you can only cancel factors, not terms. Once you've canceled the common factors, you've simplified your expression. Chapter 6. Function composition. Function composition is like putting one function inside another. Think of it like a mathematical assembly line. You start with an input, apply the inner function, and then feed that output into the outer function. The notation can look intimidating, but just remember to work your way inside out. Substitute the entire second function into every x in the first function, and then simplify. 7. Absolute value inequalities. Absolute value represents the distance of a number from 0. When you see an absolute value inequality, think of it as two separate cases. One case is where the expression inside the absolute value is positive or 0, and the other case is where it's negative. Solve each case separately, and remember to flip the inequality sign when you're dealing with the negative case. Chapter 8. Word problem. Test average. Word problems often trip students up, but they're not as scary as they seem. The key is to translate the words into math. Averages are all about totals. If you know the desired average and the number of tests, you can find the total score you need. Work backward from there to figure out what you need on the remaining test. Don't be afraid to define variables and set up equations to represent the information given in the problem. Outro, you got this, and there you have it. 8 common college algebra problems tackled and explained. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you work through these types of problems, the more confident you'll become. Want more step-by-step breakdowns like this? Subscribe and drop your hardest algebra question. We might feature it next. Don't forget to check out the description for more practice problems and resources. Until next time, happy studying.